The AV community is talking about RGB Mini LED technology. Very exciting to see that in the near future coming down in price, becoming mainstream. So you get your 85-inch plus $2,000 LCD, okay? that is definitely exciting because it is far superior to just a regular native LCD trash, okay? But to go from that to now, perpetuate this idea that that's what these companies want, okay? That's what Sony wants, that's what Hisense wants, everybody. They want to sell you an LCD TV. Why? Well, because they make a lot of money with that crap, okay? LCD killed CRTs, plasmas, and it's gonna kill OLED, unfortunately. So as part of this AV community, I want to say no, okay? Absolutely not. If the purpose is to get the best picture quality, we have to keep improving self-emissive RGB technologies, okay? We need new or improved self-emissive RGB technology. This RGB Mini LED technology is still LCD, bro. It's still going to have many of the LCD problems, okay? You're gonna have issues that you cannot fix. That's what you have to understand, bro. So please, this AV community, please, let's say no to these companies. This is what they want. They want to start convincing people that, oh no, RGB Mini LED is so better, so much better. It's gonna kill OLED. We don't need OLED anymore. Why is that? Well, because probably they can make more money. That's the only thing that they care about, okay? They do not care about giving you the best picture quality, okay? That's not their priority, okay? Their priority is to make money. So if this is the narrative that they want to push, oh, RGB Mini LED is gonna kill OLED, it's so much better. That's what they're going to try to basically influence people to believe, okay? Let's say no to that crap, bro. They killed plasma technology with absolute trash LCD. It just doesn't come even close. The only reason why plasma, this is a Pioneer Kuro plasma TV, the only reason why plasma was discontinued is because it's just so much more expensive to manufacture. They were not able to get the money they were getting with absolute garbage LCD. That's why, okay? So they kill. Over the history, they have been killing the best display technologies in favor of trash LCD again and again. It's still LCD, bro. RGB Mini LED is just more makeup over LCDs. I do not want makeup. I do not want to have to fix natively trash technology, okay? I want pure raw beauty, okay? I want something that is beautiful, just waking up. No makeup necessary, okay? No makeup. So that is, in my opinion, that is self-emissive RGB. Right now we have QD-OLED, inkjet printed, whatever they want to come out next. I'm excited about self-emissive RGB technologies, okay? But even WRGB OLEDs, they should be discontinued, okay? That's like a little bit of makeup too, okay? And we can say, is what I like to say about LCD or mini LEDs and all this RGB mini LED, that's like full-blown plastic surgery, okay? It's like, it's not the real thing, bro. What you're seeing, that's not real. That is, it's plastic surgery. So natively, LCD is garbage. The contrast is trash. Viewing angles, absolute garbage. Everything is garbage. So why they keep insisting on a technology that natively is trash? Because it's cheap and they make a lot of money. That's why. Okay, so they're gonna keep trying to push that crap. Honestly, I just want for the high end, LCD should not exist. Just kill that crap. Okay? It's okay for cheap TVs that you're going to watch in a hotel or something like that, but not for home theater level gear. Okay? Again, I'm excited about taking a look at RGB MiniLED. I would like to even get one, but for $25,000 right now, I feel like I might not be able to afford it. Okay? It's very expensive. And don't get me wrong, I mean the size is definitely an argument, okay? Definitely the highest end home theater setup is going to be targeting, the biggest screen that you can get, okay? Well, let's make an OLED that is that big. Why they don't do that? Let's wonder why. There's no 85-inch QD-OLED or 83-inch or 100-inch OLED. It is possible. They can do that. They can do whatever they want, okay? Why is that we don't have that? Well, because it would be crazy expensive. Yeah, we do have WRGB OLEDs that are 97-inch. Look at the price of that. And that is not the best, that's not QD-OLED basically. That's a WRGB with an OLED panel. That's not gonna even have the latest WRGB OLED panel. The price is insane. That's why we don't have those. But that's all we need. That's what we need. You want a huge high-end TV? Well, give me a QD-OLED that's 100 inches or more. So the only argument of RGB MiniLED could be a lot cheaper for the size and a lot bigger. Possible. That's it. But we can have that with self-emissive RGB. That's what we need. So I wish, of course, that this industry was about giving us the best quality. And all the competition was about quality. And then we pay for quality. You want the best, you pay more money. But sometimes they try to sell you something that is not better and even kill what's actually the best just because it makes them more money. And that's all they care about. And I get it, it's a business. Business has to survive. These companies struggle to survive sometimes. And they do crazy things, but as a consumer, I don't care about them. The same way they don't care about me, and that's why they do these things. So let's check out this, let's react to this video from HD TV Test. I haven't seen it, the whole thing. It's a very short video anyway. But I started watching it, and then I remember all the videos I've seen from the AV community talking about the same ideas. Hey, OLED is dead, RGB MiniLED. I'm like, I got furious, okay? So let's react to it and see what this is all about. I am already guessing what this is going to be about. And again, it's not a criticism on HDTV Test, it's just the trend, okay? The trend. I like HDTV Test, I watch all his videos. I think they're great. It's like one of the best. So let's go check this out. See what he said.
In TV shootouts, some viewers have always complained that Sony has an unfair advantage because the reference monitor being used as a benchmark is a Sony monitor. But the fact of the matter...
That's definitely a fair complaint, okay? So you're trying to see which TV is the best, and the criteria is which TV can get closer to the Sony TV. I wonder, which brand would that be? Is Sony competing on that competition? It is definitely something to think about. But I get it. It's just not about because it's Sony, it's gonna be closer. It's the accuracy, the calibration. So I don't think that is a valid criticism. I don't think so. I don't think it is, because Sony doesn't have a secret, calibration formula. Okay, every company knows what to do to get their display accurate and to have the settings. More importantly, because these TV shootouts, they are not comparing TVs out of the box. They are comparing the TVs after calibration. So really, to win the TV shootout, these companies just need to have good enough calibration controls so a professional calibrator can get these TVs as close as possible to reference. And of course, the capabilities of the display need to be such that they can actually achieve that. Okay, so with the settings available on the TV, you need to be able to get it perfectly accurate. That's what the TV shootout is all about. It's basically which TV calibrates the best and which TV has the capabilities to get accurate. Basically, that's what this is all about. So it doesn't really matter that the Sony reference monitor is gonna make it easier for Sony to win. That's not the case at all. I don't think that that's a valid argument.
Is that these Sony reference monitors are used in Hollywood for post-production, for color grading when they are producing their big budget blockbusters. And here we have a Sony BVM HX310, which is capable of 1000 nits full screen. And here we have its successor, the BVM HX3110, which is capable of an even higher peak brightness of 4000 nits on a 10% window and still maintaining 1000 nits full screen. And with these displays,
and by the way, the HX3110 reference monitor is stupid expensive. Okay, no one should ever buy that crap. Okay, even Hollywood studios, I think Sony is ripping everyone off with that price. It makes no sense. Okay, there's no reason for that to cost $30,000. And now there's definitely no reason to, after you spend $30,000, then you have to pay even more to use features that already exist on the monitor, like BFI. There's a BFI feature that you have to pay $1,200 to be able to use it. They give you like a trial period, and after that trial expires, now you have to pay for it. It's so insane to do that. It's like you buy a car and now you have to pay a yearly membership to use the air conditioning of the car or the heated seats. And that exists actually. BMW has tried to do that. So that is that is next level, predatory business practice. Okay, but in any case, that Sony, let's say that the price of that Sony reference monitor make any sense, and you don't have to pay for the BFI feature. Okay, well actually the BFI feature, it is supposed to be great. It is supposed to be great, and it's supposed to work at 60 and 120 and offer 2 milliseconds of persistence, equal to 2 pixels of motion blur when moving at 1000 pixels per second at best. So it is basically supposed to look like a 500 hertz for eye tracking motion. And here's the best thing about it. You turn on BFI on the reference monitor, and it is supposed to have still 1000 nits peak brightness, accurate. That is incredible, if true. How do I know that? Because I got a chart, that is a Sony chart, showing the brightness difference when you turn on BFI. And by looking at the brightness difference, I concluded, okay, if the brightness drop is that big, that means they are improving the motion 4x. So if true, and if it actually looks great, that is so amazing, so incredible. I wish Sony delivered a consumer display that can do that. And it's very expensive, that's okay. But not $30,000, that's stupid, man. That's an LCD still. The dual layer LCD should not be more expensive, and dual layers just do LCDs. Okay, just charge for the price of two LCD TVs. A little bit more for the active cooling and all that. Active cooling on the TV should not be that expensive. I mean, just look at the prices of liquid coolers for PC components. That's not very expensive. So that's not a justification to charge $30,000. But my point here is, it has some incredible technology, that reference monitor. I wish I could have something like that for gaming. That would be great.
Content creators, filmmakers, they can create any movie to their liking up to the capability of the reference monitor. And you also have to understand that this Japanese brand is probably one of the only companies with a complete pipeline from content acquisition directly to the end display at home. Because we have the Sony Venice 2 camera across there, which is used in many blockbusters.
They have a monopoly.
Such as Top Gun Maverick, such as the latest F1 movie. And then we have the Sony Bravia 8 Mark II QD-OLED there, which again,
sucks, by the way, absolutely sucks. Let's keep going.
It is going to be tuned in the professional mode to replicate the look on the reference monitor made by Sony. And clearly the peak brightness and also the color volume will be slightly different, but the signature look is there. Basically what Sony is trying to do is to portray, is to deliver the same sort of emotional feel that you get from seeing the contrast, seeing the shadow details, seeing the gamma, seeing the color tone. When you get all these elements together and we combine them, you just get a general feel that is beyond any measurements. You can calibrate another display to perfection, but sometimes you just miss that last magic ingredient. And this is probably a Sony secret sauce. And I've actually personally bought two of these monitors, and that is not because they gave me a discount, because I didn't get any discount, but I have actually compared against some direct competitors.
Okay, well, let me say something. QD-OLED, for example, Sony Bravia 8 Mark II, which I said absolutely sucks. Okay, why? Because Sony has dimming. They don't let you turn off the dimming, so that for gaming is trash. Okay, and Sony, for some reason, is intentionally restricting the brightness capabilities of that latest generation QD-OLED panel for no reason. Why would they do that? For reliability? No. The A95L reliability is garbage. It has a serious problem. You can Google that. A lot of A95L users had their TV completely broken after 1 or 2 years. Look it up. So it is not for reliability. Okay. Also, if I pay all that money, you're gonna restrict the performance intentionally. It doesn't make any sense. Okay. So, but that aside, let's say the QD-OLED technology in general is superior to the reference monitor in every single way other than full screen brightness. That's it. The contrast is better when it comes to the perfect contrast, when it comes to having perfect blacks. Okay, I get it. When you have a high brightness, the higher brightness can give you a better perceived contrast, even if you don't have perfect blacks. But the thing is, full screen brightness aside, QD-OLED right now is far superior to a reference monitor in every single way. Color saturation, having self-emissive capabilities with perfect blacks. So if we keep improving the full screen brightness of QD-OLED, I mean, just give it more power, I don't know, active cooling, liquid cool, whatever. It is possible. It is possible if they can keep improving it. And if it's not QD-OLED, it can be another technology. Maybe QD-OLED, after we get the phosphorus blue, it's going to be like total obliteration of the reference monitor. Okay, so my point here is, I think QD-OLED, even with less full screen brightness, is far superior to a reference monitor. Because I mean, we already have QD-OLED over 400 nits full screen. That's not enough for the best HDR impact, but 2, 3, 4 years from now, that should be a lot better. And I want QD-OLED to stay around. I want QD-OLED to get improved, not to be killed by trash LCD technology. Okay, that's my point. The point of this video.
And especially near black, I just feel that even though without any sort of, say, advanced 3D light calibration, I just feel that, it just comes out of black the cleanest. And therefore, I have to invest half my life savings into these two displays. But
that's a very important thing. All these TVs, they have to improve a lot on near black. And I don't care that much about the accuracy. For me, the worst is the defects that we see near black, including the uniformity problems. But again, that is something that they can improve significantly. They can calibrate the uniformity near black to be perfect. The only thing that they have to do for this consumer TVs to get perfect uniformity near black is to offer the calibration controls to calibrate each part of the screen, which is possible. Those calibration controls are there on the TVs at the factory, and they have the ability to tweak, to fix any imperfections near black. Any when you look at a full screen gray and the uniformity is not perfect, there is a way that they have, and they should offer that setting so a professional calibrator can basically get your QD-OLED panel or any OLED technology to be perfect near black. That is possible, but that doesn't exist, and it should. That's what I want. They improve near black, because from 0 to 10 nits is so much more important than from 100 to 1000 nits. It makes the biggest difference. If I had a TV that was absolutely perfect, like absolute perfection from 0 to 10 nits, and it was only up to 1000 nits full screen, 1000 nits, that was the cap, but it was just perfectly calibrated, that would be the best TV ever. That would just be perfection. And yeah, brighter would be better, but I'd much rather have that TV than have a TV that is 8000 nits but near black. It doesn't have perfect blacks like RGB MiniLED. It has blooming, it has worse viewing angles, and it has a lot of the LCD issues. And much rather have that QD-OLED or any self-emissive RGB that was perfect from 0 to 10 nits and it was only up to 1000 nits full screen. I much rather have that than the RGB MiniLED going over 1000 nits full screen up to 8000 nits or beyond and being super colorful and all that. So that's near black is so important. That should be the focus. If these companies care about giving us the best picture quality, that should be the focus of the conversation. Oh, this year we improve near black. We have more calibration controls to tweak the very beginning of the grayscale. We have calibration controls to tweak the uniformity of the display per zone, and then each year give you more granularity over that, so you can calibrate even a very small spot of the screen. So you can, if you are a professional calibrator or if you pay a professional calibrator, they can go to the highest extent and just calibrate your screen per section, because usually they put the colorimeter in the center of the screen. But imagine they could calibrate, because they had the control, each section of the screen. I mean, that calibration would cost $1,000, but if you want to have the best of the best and money is not a problem, you would pay for that. That would be worth it. Okay, that's what we need.
Talking about displays, the company is moving towards RGB LED technology, which uses individual red, green, and blue LEDs in an optical module to have better control of the output. So you will have higher luminous efficiency, you will have purer color wavelength, and when you have all these combined, you will achieve a wider color gamut, and with the superior peak brightness, then you will get a higher color volume. And RGB LED display technology is said to have up to 4 times the color volume of even the latest 4-stack WOLED or the latest generation of QD-OLED displays, because it is capable of higher peak brightness. And especially one thing that many people miss is that these LED LCD based displays, they can actually achieve a higher brightness full screen than any OLED out there. For example, let's say the latest generation QD-OLED, the maximum full screen brightness will be 400 nits. And I think you can easily double that on an LED LCD based display. But there are other.
You can triple that. You can do. It's basically just a matter of power and heat dissipation. We can get an LCD. We can get an RGB mini LED display that can do 4,000 nits full screen. They just have to find a way to cool that. I saw a video from Linus Tech Tip. He achieved, I don't remember the full screen brightness, but it was crazy. I don't remember if it was 10,000 nits full screen. It was insane, but to cool that, it was even more insane. So it's just a matter of finding a way to dissipate the heat. I want active cooling for these consumer displays. Some consumer displays are coming with active cooling. I really like that. But I want an advanced active cooling. I want a display that is 2,000 watts. I don't care. Okay? For example, this RGB mini LED from Hisense, the UX Trichroma RGB mini LED, the power consumption is 850 watts. If I remember from the Linus Tech Tip video I saw it yesterday. 850 watts. Yes, it is a 116 inches TV. But 850 watts, that is no joke. I like it. Make it more power hungry. I like it. See, we are not trying to save the planet with a $30,000 TV. That's stupid. Okay? You don't pay, how many people are going to pay $25,000 for a TV? Almost nobody. So you're not going to kill the planet or anything like that, or all those power regulation. That is just nonsense. So yeah, for the high-end TVs, just give them as much power. Picture quality number one. Everything else is just an obstacle.
Things that give Sony an advantage in terms of their implementation of their RGB technology, and certainly 2 of them that I saw compared to the Hisense 116UX is the lack of white blooming, because maybe Sony is able to control the light output in a more precise manner, and so the blooming will take on a more natural hue, replicating stray lighting that hits your eyes. And also the other one is superior viewing angle as well.
So when it comes to blooming, it's true. When I look at my QD-OLED TV in a completely dark room, I can still see, let's say I have something bright on the screen, I can still see some nearby pixels glowing. That is maybe a problem of QD-OLED, but I can see that on my LG C1, my L2 WRGB OLED. So the WRGB OLED doesn't have that issue, but the problem is the way we get this light in our eyes. So it's always going to have a little bit of a blooming effect in our eyes, even if it doesn't exist on the TV itself. Let's say you have a perfectly round, bright object that has a color in the middle of the screen. The nearby pixels will look like they are not perfectly black. But if you actually go and block that circle, completely block that. It should be total darkness. Okay, now in QD-OLED it might not be, because in QD-OLED those nearby pixels might still glow a little bit because of the, you know, the blue pass through scatter plate, the QD-OLED. This is just the way the QD-OLED was done. There is some leakage of the light. Maybe I haven't done that experiment, but maybe we could see a little bit of glowing. With WRGB that shouldn't happen at all, but in our eyes we still see some blooming, especially if it's very, very bright object. If it's not bright, we don't see it. But now RGB MiniLED has blooming, bro. It has blooming, and the Hisense UX being 116 inches, it has like, how many dimming zones? It was less than 5,000. I don't remember exactly from the Linus Tech Tip video. It was like 4,500 dimming zones. I think, if I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong. But the thing is, let's say 5,000 dimming zones. That's not enough. OLED has 8 million dimming zones. So it's just not even close. You're still going to get blooming with RGB MiniLED. That's one of the reasons why the RGB MiniLED cannot replace OLED. It is not better, it's not self-emissive. It's still going to have blooming. Yes, having colorful blooming is gonna be a little bit better, that's for sure, than having blooming that's white, because the backlight is white. Now we have the backlight is like RGB mini LEDs, but that's not perfect. Okay, that is not a feature. Blooming is not a feature. It's basically just a plastic surgery over a problem that doesn't exist with OLED. That's what it is.
They were able to reproduce the color in a more consistent manner off axis. And in terms of screen size and availability, I think the attraction of RGB LED technology to Sony is that it can be scaled. It is unlike OLED, maxed out at 97 inches at a very expensive price. It can go from maybe 75, 85 to 98 or even larger screen sizes. And with this sort of technology, it provides a canvas, a really high ceiling of canvas for filmmakers to paint their masterpiece. And maybe that's the future where the company is heading. And
but now one thing about big TVs, at what point it makes sense to keep making a bigger and bigger TV? At what point we should just stop that and focus on just some glasses or a VR or just a VR headset, just keep improving VR headsets, where we can have a 200-inch TV if we want in front of us. At what point that's better? So there's a point where it doesn't make more sense to keep making a bigger and bigger TV. The same argument goes for audio. I mean, audio gear is extremely expensive. There are some headphones that sound so good that it makes all that audio gear completely pointless, because you need the incredibly expensive audio gear, you also need the treatment of the room to take advantage of that high quality audio gear. Same for the TV, you need a home theater setup that costs a lot of money. So there's gonna be a point where all this home theater, huge TV, incredible audio, the room, the treatment, all of that is gonna make no sense, because now I'm gonna come here, okay, how much did you spend on that? $300,000? Okay, here's my $1,000 glasses that has the TV that is as big as I want in front of me, and it's 3D also, stereoscopic 3D actually. It could be VR for that matter. And here's my headphones that sound as good as that audio, and I don't bother anyone actually. I don't need to worry about my neighbor. And it cost me, I don't know, another $1,000, something like that. So there's gonna be a point where all of that is gonna be stupid in comparison. But it's not the same, because you can have the whole family there. You can have many people actually on the theater. But you can also argue, if you have many people, they cannot look at the screen dead center. And RGB mini LED viewing angles is not perfect, so that's a problem too. Okay, that might be a problem, might not be, but you get the idea.
I hope to bring you more news about the RGB LED TVs from Sony in the near future.
Okay, so to finish this video, I don't blame HDTV Test or anyone from the AV community. My message here is, let's say no to that. Okay, let's say no to that, because HDTV Test, I'm sure he prefers. I mean, he has said that many times, many times. He has said, I like self-emissive technologies better. I prefer that over transmissive technologies. So I'm sure he agrees with me. Okay, he made this video about RGB mini LEDs, very exciting. I like it. I'm looking forward to it becoming cheaper and affordable for everyone. So the mainstream TV gets better and better. That's very important. But to go from that to let's kill OLED, and not that he said that. He didn't say let's kill OLED. I thought he was gonna say that. He just said that Sony is pushing basically. So what he said was Sony is now going with RGB mini LED over OLED for their TVs, because you know you have some advantages like scalability for Hollywood and reference monitor and all of that. So he didn't say actually let's kill OLED. But I have seen titles of other YouTube videos on the AV community suggesting that, and no, let's not do that. Let's not kill OLED. So let's leave it there. Let me know your thoughts and opinions, and if you have any questions.